And today we are continuing our series about our database. And what I'm going to teach you guys today is how to create your own app where you can upload movies and rate them. And you can also search for movies. So by doing this project, we are going to learn how to use Skapi databases. In Skapi, we have a different way of approaching databases. We provide you with a powerful database that combines the best of NoSQL and SQL. And in Skapi databases, you don't require any pre-configuration or any schema design. You can use it right out of the box, and we call also each data a record. So I'm going to teach you guys first how to use our database and then how to create this type of apps using our system. So without further ado, let's start. This is how the app looks like. You can also rate. You can submit your rating. When you submit, then the button stop working. And when you refresh, you're going to have the rating showing here. And different users can rate as well. You can only use this app if you are logged. So I'm going also to teach you guys how to create your login and your sign up page using Skapi. So let's start. First, I assume that you guys already have an account in Skapi. You can come into your service and create a new one. I'm using trial mode and I already have a service. And the first thing we have to do is to update our data. In this case, I already update the data here, so I'm going to show you guys how I am uploading it. I have a table called movies. That's where I put the movies. I have an index called movie name, and the value is a string and the name of the movie. We use the index as an easier way to search, and if you are more curious about indexing, you can come into our documentation and go into indexing. So you can set different parameters for the index, and it's going to be easier to search for data and fetch some data as well. So we are using the index on the movie so we can search for movies in an easier way. I'm using tags here, and in this case, the tag is used when I want to search for the actor there is in these movies. So here you can see that each one of these is a record ID, and this record ID is the record ID of the data from the actor. So let's say this one is Emma Stone. So this is the record ID of the Emma Stone date or the Emma Stone record, and the same for other actors. And here on the data you can put whatever you want. So in this case I just put the name of the movie, the actors, the release date, the genre. And I also added a file, a poster file, so it can display when they use the search for the movie. I also have another table called actors. So if you enter here, the name is going to be actors. It's going to be public, but you can also make authorized and private. I'm going to use also an index called actor name and put in the name as a string because it will be easier to search for actors in our search bar. And the reference ID. And here's the data. I just put the name, nationality, birth date, age. You can put whatever you want. And the last table that I have, other than movies and actors, is ratings. So every time someone rates a movie, I create a new record. And in this record, it's basically telling the movie that they rated. So I'm using index as well. So I'm saving a new record with index rating. I save with the name of the movie, the value of your rating, and I have this reference ID. What is this reference ID? This reference ID is the record ID of the movie that they rated. So the notebook, this is the record ID. So in this case, I know also by the reference which movie the person is rating. In movies as well, if you go, there is this option, allow multi-reference. What this means is the same person could rate the movie more than once. It's very used in comments. So usually when there is a photo that is uploaded, you can comment multiple times. So if you want this to happen, you can click yes, I want to allow multiple reference. So the same user can reference the record ID many times. But in this case, I just want them to be able to rate once. So I disable this option in the movie category. If you want to create a new record, you can just come here, create record. You can create the name of the table. You can put the index. Let's say you want the index to be movie name. And the movie name, let's think about a name. Let's do Finding Nemo. And here you can put tags. Each tag should be like one of the actors. You can also put the reference ID, and here in the data you can put whatever you want, so the name of the movie or any information that you want to display. And you remember, you can also add a file, so you can add a poster of the movie or scenes of the movie. It's up to your imagination. So without further ado, let me take you guys on how to code our project. This tutorial will be divided into two parts. So I'll first teach you guys how to display all the movies that we have and how to create the ratings. So how to create a function to measure the ratings and how to get the average rating according to the users. And on the next week's tutorial, I'm going to teach you guys how to create our search engine. And this week, I also decided to take a different approach. So I won't be coding with you guys line by line. I want to show you guys a bigger picture so you can understand how the app works. I'm going to explain you guys what each line of code does. So to start, I'm using VS Code, and we are going to need 4 files. We are going to need a styles.css, a signup.html, a login.html, and an index.html. I'm going to be sharing with you guys the styles.css since I won't be covering in this tutorial, and also the sign up and the login. In order to rate the movie, the user should be logged. So you also need to create a sign up page and a login page. And I taught this in other tutorial. So please check the description and check our tutorial that is less than 4 minutes about how to create a sign up and a login page using Skapi. It's the easiest way you could ever create your own login and sign up page. Here I'm just going to briefly cover. So you can just go into your Skapi account, go into users. If you click in more info, you can just copy the sign up and paste in your signup.html file, and you can do the same for login here. Because I use this extension called live server, I like to always put a head and a body, but if you don't want to, you don't need to. I like to put it so I can be able to use this extension and see how my code is changing live. Also, don't forget to put your Skapi keys so you can have access to your Skapi service. You can find them in the getting started and just copy and paste them in the head of each single HTML file so we can use our Skapi service. So I'm going to start showing you guys the HTML part. So basically, if you check here, we have here the Skapi keys. We are also linking it to our styles.css, and we are inside the body. The first thing we are going to do is that we are going to create a h1 tag to show the title of your website. In this case, I just chose Radio Movie. We are going to add a break, and then we are going to add a header. So what is going to happen on this header? Inside the header, we will have a form, and this form is this part. Is the one that we are going to put the search engine. Inside this form, we are going to give it ID of form, and we need an input box, so where the person is going to search. The type is going to be text. The ID is going to be search input. So we need to, after fetch, we need to be able to get what the person is searching. The class will be search and the placeholder will be search as well. And we are also going to create a select option. In this one, we are going to give you an ID of search option. And we are going to give 2 options. The first one is movie and the last one is cast. So here, when you want to search, you can decide whether you're searching for a movie or for a cast. If you choose cast and you search the name of the actor, it's going to show all the movies that this actor is on. Let's say we are searching for Emma Stone. It's going to show all the movies that has Emma Stone in it. However, if you search for movie category, it won't show because there's no movie called Emma Stone. So if you want to search for a movie, you need to decide also a movie. And it's going to show the movie that starts with the letter CRA. So we are going to have this option so we know when the person wants to search a movie or when they want to search the movies with that specific actor or actress. And lastly, we are just going to put a button. The button, the ID is going to be search button. And on click, we are going to run this function, search movie, where we're going to pass the event. However, as I told you guys, we are going to cover this on next week's tutorial. And this week's tutorial should be about the display of the movies and the rating. After that, we are going to add a main, where the ID will be main, and this is where we are going to display the movie. And inside this other div, which has the ID of rating div, we are going to display the rating. So if you check, you can see here there is this big div there is the main, and there is a smaller one. This is the one related to ratings, and they are two different divs. After that, what we are going to do, we are going to open a script tag, and we are going to first display all the movies. When the user enters our website, we want to display all the movies that we have in our database. So the first thing we are going to do is that we are going to set some variables that I'm going to explain to you guys a bit later what they are for. But we are going to set user ID and a variable for movies. The first thing we want to do, as soon as the user enters, we want to check whether they are logged. If they are not logged, they are not able to do any rating. So the first thing, we want to get the profile. So we are going to use this Skapi method called skapi.getProfile. When we call this method, we are going to get a response, which we are going to log, and you are going to check that inside this, we are going to have the user ID. So I'll save because I want to show you guys how we receive this data back. So when we run get profile, we are going to console log the profile, so the response that we get from this method. And we are going to set the user ID equal to profile.userid. So here, that's how it looks now on our website. If we're going to inspect and into the console, we have an object. When we open it, this is the profile. So you can see here that inside the profile, we also have the user ID. That's how we are getting this data. Okay, after that, what we want to do is that we want to display the movies. So we want to get every single record in the table movies. We are going to do that by calling the method getRecords, so skapi.getRecords. In this method, we need to define the name of the table, so we want from the table called movies. And when we get all the records, we are going to get this response, right? So we can console log the response, so you can see how we receive the data. But I'm already showing you guys that we are going to have a list with all the movies that we saved, and we are saving that in this variable called movies. And after, we are going to create a function called display movies, in which we display every single movie. Here, going back, we can see that we have an error because display movies function is not defined yet, but you can ignore. But if you check here the data before, you can see that we receive a list. And inside this list, there is like 5 different records. If we open them, we can see that each one of them is a movie. Here inside data, you have the name of the movie and everything is saved in the data. If you want to check the photo, you need to go inside bin, and I put the name of the file posters. So inside poster, and the first one, you're going to have the URL. So if you want to display the image, you need this URL. So you need to know the path to get to this information. And you also have the record ID, you have the user ID who uploaded the movies. So you have each movie that was saved, in this case 5 movies. And we want to display each one of them. We are going to do that by creating this function called display movies. So we have this function in which we are going to receive each movie and we are going to display them. In order to display the movie, we have a couple of things that we need to do. The first one is that we are going to get the main div, the one that we define here. So we can put the movie information inside this main div. We are also modifying its inner HTML. So at first we are always cleaning. So every new div that we are creating, we are cleaning the latest one so we don't have all the movies accumulated. And then we are going to get movies. Remember, there is a list with 5 movies, and inside each one, there is the information about the movies. So we are going to use this JavaScript function called for each. So we are going to get for movie. For each movie, we are going to display it. So you're going to get the first data, 0, you're going to display that one. After the number 1, there is going to be another movie and display it as well. So we are going to set 2 variables, movie ID and movie name. You can get that by going into movie and record ID, as I showed you guys before. And the name, remember, is inside data, inside name. So we define the name. We also turn into lowercase, and here we are going to replace every special character and every comma by nothing. So we are deleting every special character and every comma. So when we save the ratings record, we can have the name in lowercase, and also without any special character, it'll be easier to organize all the data. We are also creating a new div by using document.creatingElement div. And inside this div, we are going to create a new HTML where we are going to put the movie. So what we do is that in this new div, you iterate this inner HTML, it's going to be equal to, first we are going to put the image source because we want to show the image first. Remember, I told you guys that if there is any photo, it should be inside the bin. So it's inside movie, inside bin, inside poster, the first one, the URL. So we put this as the source of the image so it can display. I also alterated a bit of the style here that you guys can just copy. And then after, we are just showing the movie's name, which is inside data, inside name, and also the actors. We are joining them by a comma and putting the name of each actor. And then after modifying the inner HTML of this div, we just need to paste it inside the main div that we got at the beginning. We are appending as a child the new movie div that we created. If we save and check how everything looks now, we see that we have every single movie that we saved with the image, the name, and the name of the actress separated by a comma. So everything's working fine. We can already display all the data that we have. Now we just need to check how can we make a system of rating these movies. I hope you remember that I said that we are saving the ratings inside the index. We are using indexes because it provides us with a lot of functions that we can use, especially in ratings. If you want to know more about it, you can come into our documentation. So you can search that get indexes. And when we get the indexes, we are also going to get the average number, total number, count, average boolean, total boolean. So this will help us with the rating, so we don't need to calculate it manually. If we get all the indexes, we can just know the average number. So we already know the average rating. So we need to get from the table of ratings, we need to get everyone that has the same index. So rating the notebook and everything that has rating the notebook, they are already going to give me the average value of this index. So it's going to be easy to calculate. So what I'm going to do is that we need to run this Skapi function called Skapi get indexes. I need to go into the table ratings, and the index should be rating and the movie name. So for each movie, I need to check the ratings for it, and I'm going to receive a response. I'm going to create this variable called rating, and if there is no response, the rating should be 0. Else, if there is a response, we are just going to get the average number. I'm going to show you guys how we receive this data so you can see in practice how you can get every single rating. So we are saving it. So when we save and we get here, we can see that we have a lot of data, and if we open the one from the line 78, is where we are defining the ratings index, we can open, you can see that there's a list, and the list has some data inside it. So it means that there is a rating. Some of the lists have no data inside, so it means no one rated it yet. When a lot of people rate, every single one is going to be a different rating for a different user. So in this case, we want to check, is there a rating? If so, then we are going to get the average number. Inside the data, we have an average number, so this is the average number of the ratings in this movie. But if the list is empty, it means there was no rating, so the rating should be 0. That's what we are defining right here. After checking the ratings, what we want to do is that we want to display this box in which we are going to allow the user to rate the movie. So we are going to do that by, we are going to create a new element, a new div that is going to be the rating one. Inside this rating div, we are going to modify its inner HTML, and we are going to create a paragraph where it's going to show the rating. The ID should be rating div and the movie name. And here, inside the paragraph, we also put in this variable of the rating that we are going to that we are receiving from the get indexes. After displaying the rating, we also want to give the option for the user to rate in case they haven't rated yet. So we just create a label and a select options, which the ID should be rating movie name. Here you can put how many numbers you want. And after, we just created a button in which when you click, you rate the movie. And we created this button because this button should be not allowed if the person rated this movie before. So remember, the user can only rate the movie once. We are putting the ID of rating button and the movie name, and on click, we are running this function, rate movie, in which we are passing the movie name. We are passing also the rating that we are getting by running document.getElementById, rating movie name, and we get the value. So we get the value from this select. And we are also passing the movie ID. because we need it in the future. And at the end, we are just appending this new rating div that we created to the movie div. If we save, so we can see now that there are these boxes, so where we can submit our rating and showing the current rate as well. If there is no rating, it shows rating is equal to 0. However, remember that if I already rated this movie, this button should be gray. And in this case, I remember I rated this movie before. So now what we need to do is that we need to check, did this user already rated this movie? And if so, we are going to turn this button to be disabled, so the user cannot rate it more than once. We are doing it by running this Skapi method that we already ran before, called getRecords. But before, we ran it when we wanted to get all the movies. In this case, we want to get the ratings. So we want to get the ratings, and we want to get the index, which the name is going to be the rating, underline the name of the movie. We are going to set it a value of 0 and a condition. So it means anything more than 1. So it means if there is any data, we want to get it, but the reference should be the user ID. So we only want to get the ratings for the specific user. I don't care if some other user rated this movie. I only care if the user that is logged right now rated it. So we are using reference to it. So by using reference, we can see if this specific user already rated the movie. And if so, if they rated the movie, if there is a response, and the response has a list, and this list has some data. Remember, if there is no data, it means that there is no rating. But if there is a data, it means the user rated it already. So if they rated, we are going to let the rating button is going to be, we get the element by ID, rating button underline movie name, which is this button right here, the button to send the rating, and we are going to disable it. So by disabling the button, if you already rated this movie, the button should be disabled. If we save and go back, you can see here that there are a couple of buttons that are disabled, and they are the movies that I already rated and I cannot rate it again. I know this tutorial is getting a bit longer, guys, but just have a bit more patience that now we just need to create one more function. Here, when the user clicks in the button submit rating, we run the function rate movie. We need to then just create this function. So every time the person rates, we can create this new record. So we are creating this new function called rate movie, and we are getting the movie name, the user rating, and the movie ID. So when we get it, what we are going to do is that we are going to create a new record. So we are going to have a lot of records of every single rating that the user did. We are going to use this Skapi function called post record that is going to post in the table. But if this table doesn't exist before, Skapi is going to create them for you. So it's very convenient. So we're going to post it. The first one should be the data, but we don't need to upload any data. And we are going to define the table name. Table name should be ratings. And we are going to also define an index. The name of the index should be rating and underline the movie name. And the value should be, of course, the user rating, but we are also parsing it as an integer. So after we are going to have a lot of different records that has the same index, and because of that we can get the average value of the index, so we can get the rating. And we are also putting a reference. The reference needs to define a record ID, and the record ID is movie ID. So we can know also which movie is the user rating, but not only that. Remember that I told you guys that you can only allow one reference per user to each movie, because we didn't allow the option to allow multiple reference. So by doing that, we guarantee that the user will only be able to rate the movie once. Then, when we get a response, we are going to have the data that we just uploaded. So now we just rated the movie. So what we want to do is just to disable the rating button. So again, we just let the rating button and we get the element by ID of the rating button of that specific movie, and we just disable it. And then lastly, let's just put a catch statement. So if there is any error, we can display it as well. And if we save everything, we can see here, let's try to rate a new movie. If I rate it, the button should become disabled, right? So I rate it. The button now is disabled. I uploaded the data here. My rating, EZA, that is the name of the movie, and the value. So this is the new data that we just saved. And if I refresh, Now I cannot submit any rating to Easy A, and I can see the rating now that is 4. Before it used to be 0. So yeah guys, that was it for today's tutorial. Next week I'm going to teach you how to make your own search engine for this project. In this case, we are going to use indexes, and you're going to see how indexes in Skapi is going to make your life easier when you need to fetch data, to search for data, how we can do it in a more practical way using Skapi. So that was it for today's tutorial. I hope you guys liked it. I hope you guys liked the new style as well. Please leave your comments down below. Leave the like, and I'll see you guys next week.